Nice throw. Try again.
Please, once you join, make sure you mute yourself. Samuel is not here, so if anybody wants to volunteer to monitor the participant list, please let me know. So I can make you a co-host and then you're able to mute anybody that is not muting. Any volunteer who wants to moderate the session? The physical session happens at Bishop Mazzoldi Primary and Nursery School. But Samuel will share details of that in the group. Samuel, you're on and off.
Yes, thank you. I got dropped. My network is unstable, so I didn't got actually what Atta was trying to say. So I hope you got it.
I got a question. He's asking if you're going to have an online session for the physical sessions. And I had already explained before that we normally don't have that, but you are going to consider an option of streaming the session live on YouTube so that those who are not there will try and join on YouTube.
For those who not be there. Okay. I think we will work on that. We'll try to stream it live for those who are not within here. Yeah. We will fix that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think for any further details, I will share, I will keep updating you in the WhatsApp group later. Okay. So I think for now we are past time, 6 minutes past the start time. So without wasting time, I think we're gonna start our session and the rest will be following and also keep joining as we proceed with our session. So over to you, Brenda, as we begin our session. So.
Thank you, Summer. I'm just going to say this one. So we're ready to start. Good afternoon once again, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Our topic today is on leadership and influence. I am sure all of us at some point have been in a leadership position and in one way or another have influenced something in our life. But we want to look at this at a more personal level and also get to understand what this means for us who are in communities, for us as people who have responsibilities for our families, and the kind of impact that we want to create as individuals. Because leadership is not first about what you do, it's about who you become. And before we start to talk about influence, visibility, impact, communication, or leadership positions, we must first confront the issue of identity. Because for many people, we spend years trying to get the title, trying to get recognition, fighting for opportunities, fighting for positions. And we don't really ever become internally prepared for the responsibilities that come with them. And that is one of the greatest tragedies in leadership. Some people are promoted before they emotionally mature. Some people gain visibility before they build integrity. Some people receive authority before learning accountability. And when power arrives before character develops, leadership becomes dangerous. And that is why we talk about leadership and influence today. And that is why a session like this is very important for us to understand. Not because all of us in these rooms are managers, CEOs, directors today as we talk, no. Not because all of us here hold very powerful positions today, no. But because every single one of us is already becoming someone. So the question is, who? Who are you becoming? Because whether you realize it or not, your habits are shaping you, your mindset is shaping you, your emotional patterns are shaping you, your values are shaping you, your reactions to things, to circumstances, to situations are shaping you. And your daily decisions and actions are shaping the kind of leader you are becoming. Leadership does not suddenly begin the day the world recognizes you and say, oh, so and so is the leader. No. It begins in private, in discipline, in self-awareness, in emotional maturity, and in the small unseen decisions that you make consistently. And honestly, for most of us, many people are waiting for permission to become who they are already capable of becoming. You are waiting to feel qualified. You are waiting to feel confident. You are waiting to feel chosen. Maybe in your family, in your workplace. You're waiting to feel validated by external factors, external people. Or you're waiting to feel important enough. But true leadership has never depended on permission. True leadership begins the moment a person decides, an ordinary person like me and you, I will take responsibility for who I am becoming. So I need you to understand that leadership is not about managing people. Leadership is how you carry yourself, how you communicate when you're frustrated, how you treat other people, how you respond to criticisms, how you handle disappointments. And whenever your presence creates stability or confusion in the environment around you. Because every room that you enter changes somehow after you arrive. I'm sure most of us might have noticed this. There are people that walk into a room and the entire environment changes. So the question you should be asking whenever you notice something like that is, what follows your presence? What is it that is following that person's presence? Why is it that some people walk in and everything shifts, everything changes? What is it that is following such a person? What do they carry in their presence? Do people experience encouragement, wisdom, emotional safety, confidence, growth, and inspiration when they see you? Do they experience these things in your presence? Or do they experience negativity, fear, instability, arrogance, or confusion? Because leadership is influence, and influence is already happening whether you recognize it or not. Some people influence their environment positively, while others influence negatively. But nobody in this life exists without influence. Everybody is influencing something. And that's why leadership cannot only be taught externally. You must first develop it internally. The strongest leaders that you know in this world are not simply intellectual or intelligent people. When you study them, you realize that these are people who have learned emotional discipline, self-awareness, consistency, resilience, integrity, responsibility. Because eventually, life tests every leader. There's pressure, there's failure, there's success, there's a lot of criticism from every corner, there is rejection. And these moments are the moments that titles cannot save. Because when you are in this moment, your title cannot save you. Only your character will be the one that will sustain you. That is why you would see that some people look very powerful when they're in public, but they will collapse privately. When you meet them in their families, you wonder, is this the same person? Is this the same guy? Right? But when they're out there, they look very powerful, totally different people. External success without internal development is very unstable. Anything simple like this will be able to shake the ground beneath your feet, and that's when you fall. That's why in this fellowship, we are not only interested in building professionals, but building people who are internally strong enough to lead, to influence, to communicate, to inspire, and create meaningful impact wherever they go. Because the world does not only need more educated people, the world needs more emotionally intelligent people, responsible people, grounded people, ethical people, right? And people who know how to lead themselves before attempting to lead others. So today we're going to have some sort of discussion, but it should go beyond the slides. You should be able to reflect deeply, even at a very personal uh, level. So for those who are interested, I would like you to reflect on this. You can, by show of hand, raise your hand and be given the opportunity to share or drop a comment in the chat. Samuel, you can take a look at that. Does leadership only belong to people with titles? Can someone influence others without formal authority? Why do some people command respect naturally while others struggle despite holding positions? What makes people genuinely trust and follow someone? You can just pick either one of them and just share your thoughts on them. One or two people or three, depending on how people are interested in talking about it. Then we can proceed. Anybody would like to share something? Am I audible enough?
Yes, Jacqueline, you can unmute.
I can't hear Jacqueline. I don't know if it is me or
Jacqueline, your network is
seem to be
breaking. Just check your
breaking.
connectivity. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Jacqueline, allow me to interrupt you. We can hear you. Your network seems to be breaking. If possible, you can type it in the chat. That would be okay. So if there's any other person, you can proceed to unmute and say something about this reflection. Jacqueline, you can type it in the chat. Okay. I think we have from this from Malish. Malish says in some communities of South Sudan, some people command respect from the members of their community because of their individual characters or charismatic, even without education. As without education history. Yeah. I think that's Malish.
Thank you, Malish, for the input. When people hear the word leadership, the first thing that comes to mind are titles, positions, offices, authority, and public recognition. People think that when I become a manager, then I will lead. When I am promoted, then I will influence. When people finally recognize me, then I will step forward. But that is one of the greatest misunderstanding when it comes to leadership. Leadership does not begin with a title. Leadership begins with identity. It begins with how you think, how you carry yourself, how you influence the environment that you are in, how you respond when nobody is clapping for you, how you live your values when nobody is watching. Some people hold leadership positions, yet create fear, instability, confusion, and distrust. Others have no formal authority, but when they enter a room, people feel calm. There is a lot of clarity. People feel encouraged. People feel seen. People feel a sense of direction. Why? Because leadership is deeper than position. Leadership is influence, and influence is built long before authority appears. And that is why some people naturally command respect without forcing it. People trust them because of their consistency, their emotional maturity, their integrity, their communication, their reliability. Leadership is also not about being visible. It's about being valuable. It is not only about being followed. It's about being trusted. Some people are followed because they have power. Others are followed because they have character. And there's a big difference between the two. Titles can force compliance for a while, but character earns trust over time. And that is why true leadership is not sustained by title alone. It is sustained by who you are when pressure comes. So before we talk about how to lead others, we must first ask ourselves, can I lead myself? Can I manage my emotions? Can I stay consistent? Can I act with integrity? Can I take responsibility? Can I influence others positively even when I do not have a formal authority? And that is where leadership begins. Long before titles appear. These are some of the objectives that I had for you for this session, and you will be able to go through them. Does leadership really mean? For many of us, it can carry different meaning, but it's one of those words that people like to use a lot, even without understanding the deep meaning. Many people confuse it with a position, but it's not merely the title. Leadership is influence, it's responsibility, it is service, it is vision, it is emotional maturity, it is integrity in motion. Leadership is not control, it's not about popularity, it's not superiority, it's not being the loudest person. It's not using your power to make other people feel small. True leadership is the ability to influence people and environments positive. It is the ability to take responsibility when it is easier to blame. It is the ability to bring clarity where there is confusion. The ability to bring calm where there is pressure. The ability to bring courage where there is fear. The ability to bring hope where people feel stuck. Some people have titles, but no influence. They have positions, but people do not trust them. They have authority, but people fear. People fear them instead of respecting them. They also have power, but they do not create growth. And there are people with no titles but people who transform every environment they enter in. They have no titles at all, but they transform every environment that they enter in. They're influenced by how they show up, how they treat other people, how they speak, how they remain consistent, how they take responsibility, and how they serve. And that is leadership. So today you should stop asking only what title do I want, but also ask yourself, what kind of influence am I building? Because a title may give you the authority, but your character is the only thing that determines whether people will trust that authority in your hands. When we talk about leadership without a title, what do we mean? Leadership without a title means you do not wait for a formal recognition before you begin showing responsibility. You do not wait for someone to appoint you before you start solving problems. You do not wait for a promotion before you begin practicing integrity, taking initiative, and excelling at what you do. Leadership without title is demonstrated in everyday choices. It is seen when you take initiative without being forced. It is seen when you solve problems instead of only complaining about the numerous problems that are there. It is also seen when you support others without needing public credit. Even if nobody says, oh, thank you for helping out, for doing this, you just choose to help, you choose to serve. It is seen when you choose to maintain standard even when nobody is watching you. It is seen when you bring calm into pressure. It is seen when people can rely on you because your behavior is consistent. They can trust you. It's not like today you are this, tomorrow you're that. Many people say, when I become a leader, I will be responsible. But true leaders say, because I am responsible, I am already becoming a leader. And there's the difference. The title does not make you a leader. It reveals whether leadership was already growing in you. Just think about this for a moment. If someone gives you authority today, but you have not developed discipline, humility, emotional maturity, or responsibility, that kind of authority will expose all your weaknesses. That is why leadership must be practiced before it is recognized. So you can lead without a title by being a person who takes ownership, the person who asks, how can I help you? A person who thinks beyond themselves, a person who brings solutions, a person who keeps their word, a person who creates stability, a person who shows up for others. Do not wait for permission to demonstrate your leadership. and you can start exactly where you are right now. Lead your habits, lead your emotions, lead your time, lead your attitude, lead your choices. Because it is not something that you wait to be given. It is something you begin practicing every day. How do you influence without authority? I want to give you an example of what happens in a typical workplace. So you're supposed to bring about a change, maybe to launch a new product. So you had to convince some of your team members to buy into the launch of the product, and they don't want. Maybe you're a junior officer or something, and the manager asks you, go tell them that this is the product we need to work with. And your first statement is, how do I tell them that? I'm not the boss. You get. Because in your mind, you can't influence without authority. You think you don't have the authority to tell them anything. You get. Influencing without authority is one of the most powerful forms of leadership. Because when you influence without a title, it means people are not responding to your position. They are responding to who you are as a person. They are responding to your credibility, to your consistency, your trustworthiness, to your communication, to your integrity. When you have authority, you can make people to listen to you, but this is temporary, right? But influence is what makes people to trust you deeply. There is a difference between being obeyed and being respected. People may choose to obey a position because you have it, but people follow influence because they want to. And even without authority, you can build influence through trust, consistency. And when people you, trust your words and your action, they will be there to respect you. When we talk about influencing, we are not talking about controlling people. It's not about demanding attention. It's not about forcing your authority on people. It's not about seeking validation constantly. Influence is quiet power. It is the power of being someone whose presence gives people confidence. When they see you, they gain confidence. Whatever comes out of your mouth, they trust, they listen. You command the room, you command everything. That your words carry weight because their life reflects substance. your leadership will be felt even before it is announced. So you should be asking yourself, do people trust my presence? Do people believe my words? Do people feel stronger after interacting with me? And this is one of my favorites because I've always lived life in a way, and one of my values is to ensure that every person that I meet could be a mentee, somebody that I'm mentoring, or somebody that came to me for help. That I should leave you better than I met you. So do people feel stronger after interacting with you? Or do they feel drained or worse than they've come to you? Do you create clarity or confusion? Do you create peace or pressure? Because influence is earned through character and consistency and not demanded through the positions that you hold. And this applies to whether it is in your workplace, whether it is in your community, whether it is just in your small family setup or unit. You do not demand it because, yes, I'm the head of the family, so you must listen to me. No. But you must know how to earn influence through your character. Values-based leadership. Values-based leadership is a leadership that is rooted in principles. It means you are not guided only by convenience, popularity, pressure, or personal gain. You are guided by your values. And remember, before now, you had a whole session where you talked about your value as a person, right? So value-based leadership is one that looks about these values that whatever it is that you are doing, you are guided by these values. And you could have several other values as a person: integrity, accountability, honesty, respect, authenticity, name it. But it's important for us to remember that it's easier to claim values when life is comfortable, right? For instance, somebody would say, me, I am somebody who is very honest. You get. But life has not tested you enough, right? Many people say they value integrity until integrity becomes costly. They say they value honesty until telling the truth puts them at risk. They say, I value responsibility until they make a mistake and must take responsibility. And then you know that, hey, responsibility was never their value to start with. Someone will say, my value is courage until they are forced to stand alone in a situation. Then you know that, yeah. So your values become most visible during pressure. Pressure is the only thing that reveals what comfort hides. Because when you're comfortable, you can do anything you like. You can say whatever it is. But when there's pressure, it reveals everything. When there's conflict, it reveals what image hides. When there's failure, it reveals what success hides. When there's temptation, it reveals what the words hide. Difficult situations reveal what you truly stand for. And that is why value-based leadership is not about what you say you believe. It's about what you consistently live. Not something that you will do today and you do another one in 6 months and then another one in 6 months or a year later. No. Consistently, daily. A value-based leader is somebody who stays grounded even during challenges. They make ethical decisions under pressure. They protect trust and credibility. They lead through examples, not just words. They do not sacrifice integrity for temporary gain because they understand that leadership without values become manipulation, and influence without integrity becomes control. Power, on the other hand, without accountability becomes dangerous. So as you grow, do not ask only, how can I become successful? Ask, what values will guide my success? Because success without these values can cost you your character. And no achievement is worth losing yourself for. Communicating with presence. Presence is one of the most powerful parts of leadership. Although it's often misunderstood, it is understood and misunderstood to mean loudness, dominating the room, speaking over others, pretending to be confident. Some people are loud but not influential. Some people speak often but do not create impact. Some people command attention for a moment but no respect over time. Presence is confidence with calmness. It is clarity with humility. It is emotional control with authenticity. It is the ability for you to make people feel that you are truly there. And so a strong presence is reflected through how you speak, how you listen, how you respond, and how you carry yourself. One of the sessions that you're going to be doing is about public speaking, right? And that is where presence comes into play. Communicating with presence means speaking with clarity. It means listening initially, managing emotions professionally, maintaining composure under pressure, bringing confidence into environments without arrogance. It means communicating with purpose. Oftentimes, people with strong presence make others feel heard. When there's tension, they communicate calmly. They bring about emotional stability into any room they step in. They speak with confidence, not superiority. They carry themselves intentionally. One of the greatest signs of leadership presence is this: you do not need to raise your voice to be respected. You do not need to raise your voice to be respected. Your clarity speaks, your confidence speaks, your consistency speaks, your calmness speaks, your character speaks. So you don't need to raise your voice. All of these things are speaking for you. People may forget your exact words, but they rarely forget how your presence made them feel. So be asking yourself, what does my presence communicate? Do I bring confidence or insecurity? Do I bring peace or tension? Do I bring clarity or confusion? Do I bring encouragement or intimidation? Leadership presence is built when your inner world becomes stable enough to influence your outer world positive. Owning your space. Owning your space is one of the most personal parts of leadership because many people are not struggling because they lack ability. They are struggling because they do not believe they have permission to be seen. Many people shrink themselves. They shrink their voice, ideas, dreams, their confidence, not because they have nothing to offer, but because they fear judgment. They fear failure. They fear rejection. They fear criticism. They fear visibility. They compare themselves with others until they silence themselves. And slowly they begin apologizing for their own presence. You cannot lead effectively when you are constantly apologizing for your presence. Leadership requires visibility. It requires courage. It requires the willingness to be seen before you feel fully ready. When we say own your space, we don't mean arrogance. It does not mean disrespecting. It does not mean thinking you are better than other people. Owning your space means recognizing that your voice matters, your ideas matter, your contributions matter, your growth matters, your presence matters. Confident people express their ideas respectfully. They take initiatives courageously. They ask questions without shame. They contribute meaningfully. They allow themselves to be seen. They speak with confidence and not arrogance. Confidence is built through preparation, through self-awareness, through consistency, through emotional growth, through believing that you have value to add. let's say I have presentation today and I haven't prepared at all for this presentation. Maybe I don't even have visual representations or in form of these slides for you. I don't know the content at all of what I'm talking about. Do you think I will be confident enough to talk about this topic? Obviously not. Will you be here trying to listen to what I'm saying? Obviously not. But I believe that I have a value to add to you by talking to you about leadership and influence. And that is where I draw my confidence from, right? So I have the confidence to talk to you about this topic. Some of us, on the other hand, are waiting to become fearless before you step forward. But when are you going to become fearless? Do you know that? Because the only way for you to be able to build confidence is after the action, not before action. If you are afraid, you will never take the action. And if you don't take the action, you are not confident, right? But if you take action and you actually do it, then you build confidence. So confidence is often built after action, not before. So you have to get out and act while you are still afraid. Speak while you are still growing. You try while you are still learning. You show up while you are still becoming. That is how confidence grows. So stop shrinking yourself to make other people feel comfortable. Stop hiding because you fear being criticized. Stop treating your voice as if it is an inconvenience. You are not in this world by accident. You are here to do something. You're here for a purpose. You are becoming. So you should wake up today and own your space with humility, with courage, and purpose. Designing your impact legacy. Leadership is not only about what you achieved as a person. So you can be a you cannot say you're a great leader if everything that we can reference is everything that you've achieved, right? Maybe as a person you've achieved really, really high level of success. But that is the only thing. That is not the only thing that we measure when we talk about great leadership. We also want to see what remained because you existed. What do you leave behind long after you are gone? That is legacy. One day people will wake up and they'll forget your position. They'll forget your salary, your status. They forget many of your achievements. But they will remember how you treated them. They will remember how you made them feel. They will remember the values that you stood for. They will remember whether your presence brought encouragement or discouragement. They will remember whether you helped them grow. They will remember whether you used your influence to serve or to control. Leadership, legacy is not built at the end of life. It is built daily. It is built in the small choices. How you treat people who cannot benefit you. How you stand for what is right. How you respond to those who are struggling. How you use your voice. How you show up when people need you. Impact is created through character, consistency, influence, and service. And one powerful question every leader must ask is this: what difference does my presence make? Not what title do I hold, not how important do I look, but what difference does my presence make? Do people become confident because of me? Do they become courageous? Do they become more hopeful? Do they become more disciplined? Do they grow? Do they become more successful because of me? Do they become more aware of their potentials because of me? That is impact. Because at the end of the day, this title that you're holding, it will expire. But the impact is what remains. The greatest leaders that you know who are out here today and those who probably might have died years ago, what do you remember them for? Do you remember them for what they've achieved? I'm sure you remember them for how many people became stronger because of them, because they lived the kind of lives they've touched. You may sit down with this and think about it for a moment. Who is the greatest leader in this life that you admire? Who is your role model? What is it that that person is doing that you admire? Is it because they've achieved something for themselves? Probably not. It's because they're doing something for other people, for a greater good. So take time to think about that. Character versus position. Your position gives you authority, and your character is what sustains your influence. Position can give you power, it gives you visibility, it can give you responsibility. It can also give you decision-making authority. But character determines whether people trust you with that power. It determines whether people respect you beyond your title, whether people follow you willingly. It also determines whether your influence lasts. Some people only have influence as long as they have position. Think about some of the politicians that we have. Most of the times, their influence lasts for as long as they hold that position or that office. The moment that office or the position is taken away from them, they lose face, right? People don't care about you. People don't even remember you because you have not done anything while you were in that position, when you are in that office, for people to remember you with, right? Maybe you even used your power or position to intimidate other people and all that, right? So people don't remember you. So most times People have influence as long as they have position. In that position, they had influence because we said position gives you that. It gives you the power. It gives you authority. So when you're in that position, you can command people to do things, yes. And they will do it because you are in that position, right? But not because they want to do it. The moment the title disappears, the influence disappears too. Why? Because this person's leadership was built on this position, not his or her character. So when you build leadership on character, your influence remains even when your title changes. That's why you see that people who resigned from some of these offices, even when they're in their houses, their homes, you find people referring to them with these titles. Even if they tell you, oh, now I'm not in that title, people say, don't worry. In my eyes, you are still that person. You get. I'm sure you have these kind of examples, right? Because that person has built the leadership based on character. So in the community, people still feel their influence, right? People still respect their wisdom. People still go to them. People still trust their judgment. People still remember their values. They still feel their impact. And that is why character is more powerful than position. Position can be given to you. Character must be built by you. Position can be announced publicly. Character is proven privately. Position may place you above people structurally. Character determines whether people allow you into their trust. And that is why leadership must never be reduced to hierarchy. Because hierarchy can give you the authority, but it cannot automatically create respect. Respect is earned, influence is earned. So you should be asking yourself, if my title disappears tomorrow, will people still see leadership in me? Will they still trust me? Will they still respect me? Will they still value my voice? Will they still feel my impact? These are the questions that reveals whether your leadership is rooted in position or character. Something for us to reflect on. Many people are not limited by lack of potential. They are limited by fear of visibility, failure, rejection, fear of making mistakes public, fear of not being good enough. Some people are deeply, deeply gifted, but emotionally trapped. They have ideas, but they never speak. They have the ability, but never step forward. They have leadership potentials, but they wait for constant validation. They have influence, but hide behind insecurity. And that is more painful because the world loses when capable people remain silent because of fear. Leadership growth requires courage. It requires reflection, discipline, intentional self-development. It requires your willingness to grow beyond comfort. Comfort is one of the greatest enemies of leadership because leadership will often require you to step into uncertainty, to speak when your voice is shaking, to take responsibility when it feels heavy, to lead when you do not feel fully ready, to grow even when it is uncomfortable. For many of us, We want confidence before action. But confidence is something that we develop through action. You do not become courageous by waiting until fear disappears. It doesn't happen. But you take steps even when you're still afraid in the present. So when we talk about leadership limitations, we do not only talk about the external barriers. The most immediate should actually be the ones that are internal. So think about all the internal barriers. What fear is limiting your leadership potential? What insecurity is keeping you silent? What habit is weakening your consistency? What story are you constantly telling yourself that is keeping you small? Because most of us are not limited by lack of potential. We have the potential. We are limited by fear. And the moment you begin confronting your fear, you begin unlocking leadership. Now, this is the most personal part of this session. Leadership is not only about where you are going, it is about who you are becoming on the journey. You may desire success, you may desire recognition, you may desire opportunities, you may desire leadership positions, but the deeper question is, who are you becoming as you pursue these things? Are you becoming more disciplined, more humble, more courageous, more consistent, more compassionate, more responsible? Or are you becoming more impatient, arrogant, insecure, reactive, and disconnected from your values? Because achievement without inner growth can be dangerous. Leadership must be shaped intentionally. Strong leaders continuously reflect on their behavior. They learn from their mistakes. They grow through discomfort. They lead themselves before leading others. They build influence through daily actions. So I want you to reflect deeply on what kind of leader do I want to become? What values do I want people to associate me with? What fears currently limit my leadership intention? What impact do I want my life to create? How do I want people to feel after interacting with me? These are not small questions. These are identity questions because leadership is not simply about doing more. It's about becoming more aware, more courageous, more responsible, more value driven, more intentional, right? And the leader you become will affect not only your life, but the lives of people around you. Leadership is not about waiting, it's about becoming, it's about growing. influencing, serving, leading yourself intentionally. Like I mentioned before, many of us are waiting for the world to choose us before we begin developing leadership. But leadership begins before recognition. Influence begins before the authority. Character sustains leadership. Confidence grows through action. Presence matters. Integrity builds trust. Leadership starts from within. Strong leaders continue to grow even when they are unnoticed, even when nobody recognizes them, they grow. They inspire through action, not words alone. They lead themselves before attempting to lead others. Because the world does not first need your title. It first needs your courage, your values, your voices, your willingness to take responsibility, your willingness to become the kind of person whose presence makes a difference. Because the titles may come later, the recognition may come later, these numerous opportunities may all come later. But the work of becoming that person begins now. So do not wait for that title to become responsible. Do not wait for authority to become influential. Do not wait for applause to become consistent. And also do not wait for recognition to become impactful. Because leadership begins today with how you think, how you speak, how you serve, how you grow, how you respond, and most importantly, how you carry yourself. Thank you so much. And we are up for open discussions and reflections. Feel free to share your thoughts, your experiences, and I'll hand over to Samuel. Samuel, I don't know if you're still there. Thank you so much. So please feel free to share your thoughts. What have you learned? What kind of leader are you becoming?
All right. That was really wonderful and insightful session, Brenda. Thank you so much. I think we still have like a half an hour, so we can still put our comments. And also, if you have any questions, you can also raise them up. We have this much time. Any points of input, question, feel free to.
Was this useful? Did it spark something in our thoughts? Do we now think about the kind of people that we want? When we talk about creating impact, being a leader, let's start even within our families, right? Within our small communities, within our circle of friends, right? I'm sure you have a ton of friends who are not part of the Build Your Vessel. So can you take leadership by sharing what you've learned, right? Because by talking to them about the things that you've learned here, that's one way of creating impact. That's one way of influencing, right? We are not going to be waiting until we become the president of South Sudan, right? Because that may never happen. Because if you want to sit and wait until we become the president of South Sudan for us to be able to make changes in our community, changes in our family, that won't happen, right? But if we start doing this now, then we can prepare ourselves for, right? So let's take time to reflect. I don't know why we don't always want to talk and reflect on things. But let's take time to reflect. Whether you want to share it here or not, at a personal level, you should be able to do that. Information. Yes, started. Please go ahead.
Yes. Oh, okay. Good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon.
In fact, I want to share some insight about how leadership matters, no matter you don't have a title or a position you are holding. I want to share a perspective about the family that I was brought up in. Our family is extended family, and you know this issue of jealousies here and there between the siblings, the mothers. See, the family is not at peace, and children are growing with enmity in their hearts. See, so when I was growing up, I learned about this, and I become odd among the siblings. Sometimes our mothers used to tell us, you should not visit so and so's house. You should not go and eat there. You should not move with their kids. See, so when I was growing up, I was not involved in this. Even if I'm being stopped, I used to go, I play with the kids. Not until when a meeting was convened and people were allowed to talk. See, so as a child, a teenager, I stood up and I raised my hand in the family congregation that were settling the matters. Then I say I want to air out my voice. So I was given the chance. So I was trying to be honest. I was telling so and so, you have been doing this and you have been doing this, and it is not good. So all the people were looking at me and they were asking themselves, where is this young child coming from? Telling elders such big words. See, from that day, the family tried to transform, see, and the kids were allowed to move together. And in case of any dispute in the family, when people are sitting, they used to call me to be part of the gathering, and sometimes they can even ask me, "What do you want to say about this?" See, and from there I learned that being a leader is not about the position you're holding, or it's not all about the title. Okay, no matter how small you are, and you have that heart of integrity, and you want people to be united. See, you can bring people that have different mindset together to be one. See, so this is basically about how I reflected myself into this, and I learned that leadership is not only about titles. Okay, so it's about how honesty you are, how respectful you are, and the integrity in you. So this is basically I want to say about it, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Taret, for sharing those reflections. And yes, very powerful. Even at the family unit, yes, That is very, very important. You can find out that even when you are the last born in the family, you can have some influence, right? People can listen to you. So the question should be, how do you make them listen to you, right? Because in your case, you were young, right? And they were the older ones. They were the ones who were fighting, right? But you did not get up to go and judge them and to start shouting, oh, you guys are ABCD. No. And that's how you demanded your presence actually made you to be respected and be given the opportunity to talk because they knew you were young, probably in their mind. You cannot say even anything that can help them. But when given the opportunity, your presence communicated. And that is the most important thing. For those of us who are with families who have kids, there's a difference between having your kids fear you and respect you. As a parent, you have power, you have authority, you have a position. You're the father of the house, so that's your position. But do your kids listen to you because they want to, or because, yeah, he's the father, so what can we do? We don't have a choice, right? That depends on the kind of father you are, the kind of leader you are at home, right? So this touches every angle. The same for the mothers. Do your kids listen to you because you're the mom? Or do they willingly choose to listen to you? Because when you take a typical family, you realize that sometimes the kids will listen more to the mom and less to the dad, or more to the dad and less to the mom, right? That is leadership and influence in play. You don't look at it, you don't understand it yet, but if you go back down and think about the kind of relationship that you've had with your parents, you'll be able to put one or two together and know, so it's actually my dad who was a leader, right? Or my dad was basically using his position to intimidate us. Because somebody, instead of correcting you, will be like, hey, I'm your father, you must listen to me. It doesn't work like that, right? But for us in our communities, we assume that yes, somebody with authority, they abuse the power and they want everybody to fall flat on their faces when they pass by, when they talk and everything. But watch it, because the moment you are stripped of that position, you have nothing, then nobody listens to you. Nobody wants to know who you are, right? So those are some of the personal things we should get back to before we start coming outside and thinking about leadership and the external environment. We must start internally. Nice. Any other things, questions, reflections? Thanks for those who've been able to provide a lot of contributions on the chat. I don't see any questions. Atta, I'm seeing a question from you. Can we know earlier like this the requirements needed for the graduation, please? It was the first thing we talked about on day one. I don't know if you remember. Does anybody remember the requirement for the graduation? Just show your hands and say what you remember. It was the first thing we said on orientation day, unless you missed the orientation day. Yes, Viola.
Okay, good afternoon. One of the things that I will remember is that anyone must complete their assignment.
Nice. Yes. The only requirement that we have for you actually is that you must have completed 100% of the assignments. 100%. Not that you left out one, right? 100%. We talked about attendance as well, but we did say that there are circumstances that may not allow somebody to be here for a live session. But this person can go and watch the recordings on the Zoom link, on YouTube, and still be able to complete their assignments. So the only conditions that we have for you to be able to graduate is that 100% of all the assignments should be completed. We don't have a pass mark or an average mark or no, but just that you've completed this assignment. So I hope that that is clear. Other details, Shamil is going to share them in the WhatsApp group. For those of us who will be able to make it to the physical session, wish us all the best. And for those of us who will not be able to make it, we hope to see you at the graduation event. The attendance is on the chat. Please feel free to fill in your attendance and you may have yourselves a good evening.